The first question here requires us to find the gradient of this line here that we have from this graph. And remember that gradient just refers to the slope of a line, right? How steep a line is. Okay, so there's two things to look for when we're looking at the gradient. If we look at the answer here, the first thing is we can easily figure out whether a gradient is positive or whether it is negative, right? If it is upward sloping like this, that is a positive gradient, and if it is downward sloping like this, then it is a negative gradient. Okay, so you can see in this case, this gradient here, or this line here, it's downward sloping, right? So we know that has to be a negative gradient. So it has to be either A or B. Okay, that's something you could rule out straight away. Now to figure out whether it's P over Q or Q over P, we can use these X and Y intercepts that were given here. So we know this over here is our Y intercept, right? P. And what does the y-intercept mean? The y-intercept is the value of y when x is equal to 0. So when x is equal to 0, y is equal to p. And our x-intercept here is q. Now what is the x-intercept? X-intercept is the value of x when y is equal to 0. So in this case, it's when y is equal to 0, our q is equal to, so our x is equal to q. Okay? Now, if you guys remember, this is our gradient formula that we used. So the gradient formula is m is equal to y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, where y2 and y1 and y2 are our two y coordinates. That will be p and 0, and x2 and x1 are our two x coordinates. That's 0 and q. Okay? So if we do y2 minus y1, so I've done 0 minus y2. Yeah, so we're done, so we're done 0 minus p here, and we're done q minus 0 here. These are two y coordinates, 0 and p, and these are two x coordinates, q and 0. Okay, and if we put that in, that's just minus p over q, which means our answer is going to be A. Okay, so a bit of a simple question there. But yeah, just don't get confused with the negatives and the coordinates there as well. Make sure we do it in the correct order, and not sort of switch these coordinates around. That is a common mistake on occasions. Next question, pretty similar again. We're given an equation, and we have to find the graph of this equation. Again, pretty simple. The first thing we sort of look at is this end part here, right? We know that this minus 2, that represents the y-intercept. So that is basically where our line cuts the y-axis. Okay, so it cuts the it cuts the y-axis at -2. Okay, so therefore we can immediately rule out some options here. We can rule out this one because this cuts the y-axis at +2, but we need -2. Okay, so it can't be option B. Okay, it can't be option C either because this cuts the axis at -1. Okay, so it can't be option C either. And the next thing we'll look at is we've got a gradient of 2 here. Okay, and we don't actually need to sort of figure out, we don't need to sub in any values or do any sort of numerical calculation. Since we know it's 2, and since it's a positive gradient here, we know that the line has to be upward sloping like this. Okay, because it's a positive gradient. So out of A and D, which one is a positive gradient? It's option D, alright? D is upward sloping, A is downward sloping. So therefore we know that D has to be the correct answer now. Yes, you don't actually have to do any calculation. If you were a little bit stuck, yeah, you could definitely sub in one of these values. Like say if you sub in x is equal to 1, over here you will get 2 times 1, which is 2, minus 2 is equal to 0. And we can see that's correct because over here, when x is equal to 1, y is equal to 0. So that's another way you could just double check that solution there for yourself. Last question here, I want you to figure out the x-intercept of the line x plus 3y plus 6 is equal to 0. Okay, now it is in a different format here. It's not in our traditional y is equal to mx plus b form. So that can sometimes trick students. But look, it really doesn't change the question. Okay, if you look at the answer here, well, remember x-intercept, all we need to do is you just need to find the value of x when y is equal to 0. So we just sub in, instead of y, we just sub in 0. So we've got x plus 3 times 0 plus 6 is equal to 0. 3 times 0 is just 0. That means that x plus 6 is equal to 0. And that means that x is equal to -6. which means our x-intercept is -6 and 0. That means that when y is equal to 0, our x is equal to -6. So our solution is solution A. So pretty simple questions. These are sort of the questions that you can sometimes get in the multiple choice section of an exam paper. They generally won't be worth too many marks. You probably will get them in like the short answer section. But yeah, these are just some quick questions that I just wanted to show you guys. Just so you know the most efficient way of solving them. And yeah, just to show you guys how to solve these without spending too much time on them, because they're not worth as many marks.